Mic check, mic check, mic check. Alright, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Drop Podcast. This is where we play games and hang out. And if you're watching on YouTube, and you're watching me play Pokemon FireRed, if you are watching, or listening, rather, on the various platforms that you can listen on, then you are just listening to me. So welcome. Man, I've looked forward to this. So I'm just gonna run through just like a quick intro real quick. So this podcast, of course, working on ways to monetize it. For the meantime, I don't have any like affiliate links or ads, but for those who wish to support me, some great ways that you can do that is, honestly, if you go to my website, I'm selling a book for $5. It's more of a pamphlet, but the knowledge is really good. And actually, eventually, I am going to discuss it or do like a drop episode on it. Actually, you know what, I might as well do that. Let me just write that down real quick because I'm not going to remember that I should do that. Wow. Unfortunately, I do not have a pen. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a pen. Okay, well, anyways, then, moving on. If you go to my, website, joshuatbryan.com, then you can find a book that I'm selling for $5. This is really, really good information. And it all goes together with my whole philosophy of set goals and take leadership, create your own culture. So if you're with me and you plan on making this journey, then that is really good information that sort of defines sort of where I'm coming from, especially because I wrote that right as soon as I graduated high school. Or not graduated, actually. I wrote that as soon as quarantine hit is whenever I wrote it. And I actually had been working on it for a little bit. But that is now that was the final product. But anyway, the other things you can do is actually also on my website, joshuatbryan.com. You can donate if you want to, or if you go to Anchor, where I host my podcast, you can donate on the website itself. Either way helps, if you so choose to do that. Eventually, I am going to start putting up like little ads and affiliate links. Only stuff that like I believe in, but all that being said, honestly, and then the best way that you can really help out with everything is, if you like my music, listen to my music. If you like my content, listen to my content, like the podcast and then also the drop videos, reading my book, and just taking, if you believe in the whole leadership mission, just taking that seriously and becoming a part of this culture. Because the ultimate goal is I want this generation Z, my generation, I want us to be the generation that really takes control of, like, I want us to be known for being very introspective and having this just general culture of leadership around us, where we're kind, not too dramatic, etc. So I mean, like I said, if you're interested in this, one, living it, supporting it, sharing with me in this, and then the best thing that you can do really is to just share with whoever you know, whether it's my music, just introducing me, because also my music I'm very proud of too. My music, all of that is self-made beats, self-made lyricism, and stuff like that. But actually, there's 2 songs that I have that are not original beats. Lyricism was all written by me, though. At least my own. Actually, Speak Easy I wrote with my cousin. The one that is on the song, I wrote with him. But we both did our own lyricism as far as that goes. But the beat was made by us, and then, yeah. Oh, man. Irish Sweet Tea is so good. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So, like I said, the best possible way that you could possibly support me is to simply participate and share. Share my content if you think it's helpful to anybody. I know it's hard, like, especially in high school, because no one wants to take their life seriously. No one even knows where their life is going, and they don't think they can. One thing I was thinking about today, because I'm actually, I was thinking about, because I already have my drop shipping store up and everything, so now I'm on to, like, the next project, you know what I mean? As I'm working on that, now I'm on to, like, the next thing, and I'm actually excited about this one, because this one is more like me, like, more, this is what I care about, you know what I mean? I don't really care about drop shipping or selling a product. I'm just doing that to fund so that I can focus more on this. But I'm gonna write a second, or I'm not gonna write, I'm more like an expansion to the first book. Because the first book I wrote is why you should set goals. And then the second book is how you set goals. And so I'm going through some bullet points because I listened to this podcast by Dean Graziosi. It's called like Millionaire Success Habits. Really, really incredible content. Like Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins are the 2 people. I was introduced to Tony Robbins through Dean Graziosi. Whenever he actually had an ad while I was watching a YouTube video. And man, I am so thankful that I saw that ad, because that is really what launched, how I got to here. But anyway, that's besides the point. It's actually crazy that you think about it. That was like last year only that I saw that. But anyway, yeah, I was saying. Okay, so this is gonna be how to set goals. And I didn't write down any order. I was writing the riffs, like the things that I like to talk about in regards to how to set goals. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I think like setting goals is, okay, everyone has the same goal, which is fulfillment. I don't think anyone in life wants to go through life feeling unfulfilled and unhappy. So no matter who you are, striving to be content is your mission. It's just how you get there is what changes. So then we have, so the first thing is fulfillment, and I already knew that. Like, fulfillment is the first step, no matter what. But, oh, that is so lame. Sorry, if you guys don't know, if you guys have never played Pokemon, I just got hit with the love charm. It's so annoying. But anyway, there we go. Okay, so then a few of the riffs, just to read through some of these, is understanding that you don't need all the answers. And the reason why I went to this is because people confuse. Because always in life, like especially whenever you're getting into like junior year, especially, your teachers are always saying like, oh, you need to figure out like what do you want to do, because you have to choose in high school. Or not in high school, but college. You have to like choose a career path. And there's 2 ways you could go about it. You could stick with your job and live a fine life, but is that going to fulfill you? Now, that's a choice. It could fulfill you if you choose it, but is that your passion? Is that what you're going to be most happy doing? Are you going to feel like you did everything to the fullest doing that? So that's kind of why it's important to learn this stuff, how to set goals. But anyway, so this comes from that mindset. You don't need all the answers. There are people who are 40 years old who are just figuring out. Dean Graziosi didn't go to college, and he didn't figure it out. He was I don't know how long he was working, but I think he was like worked on cars with until he could afford a home, and then purchased a home for real estate, and then had two jobs going at the same time, basically fixing up a house and working on cars. That was his grind, and he still didn't even know. He had money, but that didn't mean he knew what he really wanted to do with his life. Because even though he had money, I don't think he truly found out what he wanted to do until he realized that what he wanted to do was teach and help and share what he had learned, and he does a really good job. So he does a really good job on sharing value, even though he can get salesy sometimes. Everything he says is really, really good information. If you study the greats, because look, there's this saying: if you're around 5 stupid people, you're gonna be the 6th. If you're around 5 mean people, you're gonna be the 6th. If you're around 5, you see where this is going. Now, if you're around 5 leaders, 5 rich people, 5 successful people, you will be the 6th. The unfortunate part is not everyone has access or resources to successful and rich people to be around as our mentors. And that's what's so great about podcasting is at work, pretty much all I'm doing, I just download like a whole bunch of his episodes and I just listen to it on repeat, and I just collect his idea, his mindset, learn the way that he talks, and learn how he thinks and processes, and listen to the way that he shares. I've read his book, Millionaire Success Habits, because it was free. All I had to do was pay for shipping. It was really great. But the whole idea is I just want to fill my mind with all that stuff as much as I possibly can, so I can be the 6th. Well, I don't really know anyone else, but so that I can be, in a way, the next Dean Graziosi, if you want to, put it like that. I'm gonna be Josh. We have different ambitions, I think, but still, you get the point. But yeah. So anyway, so this comes from that perspective that you don't need to know exactly what you want to be, because look, you already know one thing that's consistent. You already know that you want to be happy and fulfilled. You've set that to your brain. You've already given your brain that task. Tell yourself, I want to be fulfilled. And then here's sort of where the next step comes in. Ask yourself, how am I going to be fulfilled, like I said. Now, there are techniques to it, and I think that's why I can't really remember why I brought up the, you'll be the 6th thing. But I'm sure it probably came out of the conversation of if you're around 5, you'll be the 6th. But anyway, so how are you going to be fulfilled? So, first things first, because there are multiple regions of life, and I'm gonna, once I write this book, I'm gonna get more in depth. There are multiple specific regions of your life. There's your finance, your family, your faith. I'm trying to think. Finance, your family, your faith. There's more. Just believe me. I just cannot think of them at this moment. But your finance, your family, your faith. Those are already 3 things that I'm sure will take you enough time already. So just think about, just as an example, we'll look at finance. So you want to be fulfilled. Okay, what does that look like financially to you? What does you financially fulfilled look like? is that person rich? Are they poor? Or are they just getting by? And I'm just gonna use me because I know what I want. Finances, I want to be unworried about finances. I want to be wealthy. And I want to be passively wealthy. I do not want to be worried about running a business. All I want to do all day is work on this podcast, YouTube, my music, and how about you, my other podcast. Just for now, as I'm writing books, as I'm pursuing other things, I do not want to worry about drop shipping or the rest of it. Because this is what makes me happy right here. Let me tell you, like, my story, and sort of, like, where I'm coming from as far as, like, my perspective of how to set goals. So I knew starting about, like, senior year that I wanted to be... I was into business. I liked business. I was always into self-growth, and I was always trying to be self-aware. And so my focus was primarily on being on the betterment of me in general, which tends to involve tends to involve finances and stuff like that. Doesn't have to be, but it just does sometimes. But as I was saying, or I'm just saying that's how I got introduced, because I was always, into that. And so about senior year, I found out about this program called the CEO program, and I was actually gonna be a teacher before that. Prior to that, I was gonna be a teacher, but I wanted to get into business because I knew that I wanted to be in control of my finances and have money. So I had no idea what I wanted to do, because in this program we make a business, and you basically have like the whole first semester to come up with an idea and like a pitch, and then the whole second semester is just focused on building a business plan and putting your business in action. Like, you literally build a business and put it into action. And then they give you an opportunity to market it through. They were going to have a trade show, but the coronavirus happened. But sort of eventually, just because like my mom was starting to listen to this podcast called How I Built This, and I was into Dean Graziosi a lot at the time. Or like, this is never, like, just found out about like Dean Graziosi, and so I was listening to him a lot, getting a lot of like advice and guidance from that. And so then it got me thinking, like, wow, okay, how I built this is sort of focusing on like business people. And so I was kind of inspired by that. I was like, okay, well, I like business. And I was like, well, I'm more philosophical, just, for lack of a better term. Not saying that I'm like intelligent. Like, those guys are very, very smart in the way that they can the way that they sort of break down the world. I can't do that, but I like to think about it. I like the ideas that other people come up with, basically. But yeah, so I was listening to this podcast and I was inspired, and so that's kind of where the idea of How About You came from. But How About You was actually going to be a podcast about it was going to be a library of it was going to be a library of ideas that would challenge your previously thought ideas. Because I was under the impression that I didn't know, because I always wanted to learn more, but I had no idea where to go sometimes. Alright, look, so if sometimes learning isn't about having the resources, but knowing the right questions to ask. sort of being able to break it down in your mind and figure out what exactly you need to know to get the right understanding and move on to the next. And I feel like school just wasn't doing a good job with that aspect, or with that piece of learning. And so I was very, very like motivated in that way. Well, that's what I wanted to share. Like, I wanted to share about that. And so that was the original idea. And so I started working on that. I had my girlfriend be the first episode, and it was on communication. I think I had my grandpa be the second, and that was just on a story. Actually, I don't think it was, but I can't remember who was the second. So I mean, that's basically where it started. And then from there, I've made like more connections, and it's been incredible. But it's grown onto something better. And this is the perfect example. So I started with an idea based on sort of a desire that I wanted. I knew that. Alright, so I wanted to be fulfilled, and I felt like having my own business, not having to work for somebody, would be that fulfillment. And the way that I found that out is because I was working at Starbucks, and I knew that I liked having that paycheck, and I like money, but I do not like having to clock in whenever someone else tells me that they want me to clock in. So it was the experience that I had that led to the development, or to the push of an idea that I thought would bring me that fulfillment. And the idea was something that I tried, that then it was another experience that then led to the development of this idea into something else that also pushed my growth to bring me more people in my life that would then help me push my ideas further. And then all along the side, so I had this experience working at Starbucks, not being able to control my times that I had to be employed, or I had to work, and that was the frustrating part. So I had this idea, and then I set goals specifically towards this podcast. So I said, okay, so I want to start a podcast. I'm going to set a goal today to sort of plan it out. How am I going to make this podcast? What tools do I need? Okay, so now I have the goals of the research. After I do the research, now I look for it. I look for research more into how I can get that, and what it's going to take. So I did that research, and I just kept setting goals every single day to push this podcast forward. And eventually I was making podcasts like, okay, go talk to this person, ask them if they want to be on your podcast. And I did. But as the thing is, like, what I want to point out is I didn't know in full detail exactly what this podcast was. I mean, I thought I had to know. I didn't have to know. That's the point I'm trying to make. So I thought I knew, and I thought it was going to be a library of tools, but something I just didn't feel quite satisfied with what it was. And I actually didn't feel satisfied with the podcast until my second to last episode, where I think I perfected it and felt like, okay, this is where I want it to be, which was with Dan Sauer, the photographer. And I think my very best podcast episode to date is the one I did with Maxine Clark. And that was exactly how I wanted it to be. More of a conversation where I would pick out the ideas and take it out, rather than the forcing of trying to figure out what the conversation is going to be. But the thing is, if I came in with it like, okay, I don't know exactly what this is going to be, but I'm going to pursue it. Which I guess you can have like a filler. But here's the thing. You don't have to, it's just the recognition that you don't have to know every single detail of what this podcast is going to be. Like, I think the best thing I could have done, which I didn't do, which actually made it take longer, because I had to figure out how to work this idea that I had for this podcast, this idea of challenging people's minds. I had to try and figure it out for every single episode until I finally just said, okay, forget it. I'm redefining How About You. until I did that, it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so I turned it into what I wanted it to be. But it took even longer because I thought that I had to make it this. No, if I came into this with a perspective like, okay, this is this thing that I'm going to try out. So this is where the other piece of experience. So this is this thing that I'm going to try out. It doesn't have to always be that, and I need to be open to change, but this is just the experience I'm going to try. So I know I didn't say that in the best way. But let me now that I've sort of got thrown all the ideas out there and sort of jumbling in my head, let me tackle this for you guys one more time, because this is important. I want this to show. This is like the foundation of me. This is how I achieve what I achieve right now. Basically sharing to you how I get everything done. Like, this is my exact process. So I desire fulfillment, and I define what fulfillment. So first step, I desire fulfillment. Second step, I picture in my head, okay, what is the best scenario? It's like, what is the best vision? Like, to me, whenever I say a fulfilled individual, what does that look like? And I saw a man in a suit that looked very clean, very put together, and very nice. Okay, so I can pick that image apart, and I can come up with ideas. A very clean, nice man in a suit. A suit symbolizes wealth to me. I see him as a wealthy man, very put together, very strong, very confident, and very smart. Okay, so here are some pieces, very put together. First things first, a suit. That's the easiest part because that's a physical symbol that I wanted for him, that I saw. So I would have gotten a suit, and I would have purchased a suit. That would have been like the first thing to do that. But I already had a suit, so actually I bought more button-down clothes because I wanted to look that way. I wanted to develop that culture. That's who I envisioned as like the best me. And so I started doing that. I started dressing nicer. And then in turn I started feeling nicer. And so this is just me trying things out, okay? The other thing, I wanted to be successful, okay? So here's the even better piece. I wanted to be successful, like financially. So I knew that the best way that I knew at the moment was business. I wanted to have a business. I wanted to be a very business-focused man. So I pursued business. I didn't know it until I found out about the podcast. The podcast, set an idea for it, but it was open. Well, it changed, basically. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm repeating myself. So, anyway, I think you guys get the point. I've been talking about this this whole time. But once I write it down in my book, it's going to be much more put together, and I'm going to go deeper into detail of my techniques. And I've already talked about a few. Like, I talked about my hand thing where you have like your 5 points. You just align it up. Like, one hand is you now, the other hand is you in the future. You want to line it up perfectly. Sort of make this hand become the other hand. Or mimic the other hand. Until you become that person. So basically, fake it so you make it type of philosophy. But there's one more thing that I kind of want to go over. So one thing that I sort of realized as I'm explaining this is there's 2 pieces to sort of setting goals. There's the actual physical, okay, set your goal, and then there's the other side of it, which is more like more idea focused. But actually, no, before you set your goals, you need to have the vision. So it goes into vision and then goals. So the vision would be the fulfillment to what does the perfect individual look like for you. And then how do you achieve that perfect individual? And that's where you get your ideas. Okay, so you look at your perfect individual. Let's say he looks like a hippie. Okay, what do hippies do? Like, what is a hippie in real life that you look up to? And let's say it's the Leo guy. I forget his name. Leo, talking about from shoot, what's that TV show called? That 70s Show. Leo from the 70s Show. Leo from the 70s Show, like, let's say, like, he smokes weed. So, you know, go try some weed. You know what I mean? If you want to be a hippie, if that's who you envision as, like, the perfect you, try some weed. Try that experience. If that's not where it is, there you go. You've already scratched one thing off. That's not what makes you feel fulfilled. But in that experience, did you learn something besides that you didn't want to do that? You know what I mean? Was there something in that culture you liked? Like, maybe you were smoking weed and this guy was playing guitar and you were like, oh man, that guitar's really cool. That's your little pick-off point. That's where you're like, okay, let me try that. And that's where the experience goes hand in hand with developing better goals for your future. And so you don't have to have everything figured out, but it's about motion until you get into that perfect progress. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always progressing forward because there's always a reason for what you're pursuing. But sometimes it's not always what you're going to end up doing. Just being open to exploration. I rambled a lot. I wish I could have made that better, but anyway, I hope you guys got some value out of that. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Because I'm about to get on to the next part. So anyway, so if you guys enjoyed that, remember you can find more of my content on, this channel, like, because I do music, and I do music, and then I do this kind of like the video series called The Drop every Wednesday and Sunday. And basically I just release a video where I'm just talking about something that I did like that week or within those past 3 days. And then with this is the Drop Podcast. This is just, hanging out, having fun. Like, a lot, not as focused, but it's longer and it's more just like a interactive experience. And also just a way to just sort of like talk and just sort of like for me, this is almost like a way to explore my mind a little bit, try and get some ideas out, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's besides the point. If you guys enjoyed, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share, and also make sure that if you want to support me, like I said in the beginning, go to joshuatbryan.com where you can either donate, you can buy my book, or just watch my content and share my content. Like, if you want to share my content, just share my website, because my website really has all links to all my content, and I actually have a blog on there too. Every single morning I post my 3 goals of the day, just so, like, if you guys want to see the way I sort of set up my goals, that's how you can do that. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm going to check you guys next time.